this is our Florita vineyard. The family purchased this in 1986, so to put a bit of perspective, Leo Buring bought this property in 1944. He started Chateau Lyonnais in the Barossa then, and then acquired this bit of land as well. So originally this vineyard was planted to Pedro and Palomino, the fortified varieties, and Florita, the name, is actually Spanish for little flower, and that was the floor that used to grow on the sherry. So the floor yeast that used to grow on the sherry. So that's where the Florita name comes from. And in 1955, Leo Buring, he employed John Vickery, young winemaker out of Roseworthy, and then they started planting Riesling on this vineyard. So the vines that we are in at the moment is we call Block 26. These are 1962 planted, so quite old vines. And this is when John was making the beautiful DW series wines, Lyonnais wines. You know, it was this block that was the heart of those wines. So, and now these are the heart of our Florita Riesling that we make at Jim Barry as well. So they were actually low trellis and pre-Jim Barry, so pre-86. They'd train them up to be a suitable height for hand picking. So yeah, pruning wise, we do about 50 to 60 buds, depending on the vine. And then we come past with an emblem spray for Utipa about 2 days after. So that's a program that we've been doing the last sort of 4 or 5 years through all of our vineyards. Get that spray on, try to go as close to pruning as possible with that. And then we do, and then a few people have talked about shoot thinning. So we do shoot thinning in this vineyard as well. So any double buds, double shoots, sorry, and then any shoots that are pointing south, we just like to clean all that up, just so we don't have any fruit hanging down, which can lead to sunburn. And also you can see this is north-south orientation. To be honest, I probably would rather an east-west orientation vineyard, but we just got to work that much harder on this property because it is a great site, old vines, so we just got to work harder with what we've got. So really careful on that western side. So we lift this eastern side wire higher than that western side. Just try to get, if we do get canopy roll, it's going to roll to the west. We try to avoid getting that canopy roll by trimming. So you can see that the canopy is quite high. We trim about 30 centimeters above the steels. And then also when we skirt at about 10 nodes as well. So, and we're not really after hedging. We're happy to trim, promote that lateral growth. But we are quite happy to have sort of these hanging out as well. So that's a little bit about the canopy management. We actually redone all the irrigation in this vineyard last year, so 2021. So basically did the whole 30 hectares. Hey, so a couple of years ago. Sorry, mate. I'm not very good at maths. So yeah, redid all the irrigation. It was sort of, 30, 35 years old. And to put that in perspective, we've got. Do you, Malcolm? Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So when was that? That was in 1923 as well. So we got a 20 meg turkey nest there that we fill with off-peak water. Before we upgraded this irrigation, we could pump 24/7 out of that dam, and we wouldn't empty that dam. So in heat waves, heat events, we just couldn't get the water out that we needed. So these days we can empty that dam in about 10 days if we want to. So with a 6-hour shift, we get about 2 megs of irrigation out on this 30 hectare property. So yeah, so we're doing every week at the moment, 6-hour irrigation shifts, and then with that heat wave, we brought that into 8-hour shifts and every 5 days. So just gives us a lot more flexibility now. We've been pretty blessed the last couple of years where we have had a lot of rain, so we haven't needed it. But obviously we know probably another year or two we might be in drought again, so we need to have this irrigation ready to go. So what else have we got here? We've got soil. So you can see there's a little bit of, there's not a lot of mulch now. We are about to lay some mulch this year. So as Steve said, it's a 4-year program of putting straw mulch down. Again, put a bit of compost down as well for that nitrogen. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. We sort of undervine. We do spray a little bit in here because we aren't organic, so a little bit of Basta sometimes just to keep on top of any weeds. And then we've gone away from your cultivation as well. So this is just some cover crops that we've been planting, and sort of we slash those down and let them die off. So I reckon this is about 8.5 by May. So yeah, yeah, yeah. So what is it, Derek?
It was yeah. So it was top. We didn't sample the bottom half at last there. So top half was at 9.
What was it?
So we'll sample again tomorrow. Yep, tomorrow. So it certainly has moved a bit since.
Yeah, or maybe sitting at about 9. But yeah, we'd see that flavour in the juice coming in, you know, early as well. So you got a lot of flavour. It's not just sugar and acid water. Got that flavour coming in. And then in terms of picking, so older vines we go through and hand pick. But we have 3 bins. So we have 2 A grade bins and we have a B grade bin. So the people with whoever's hand picking in the bucket's tipped onto a sorting table, and then we sort on top of that table. So we A grade bunches in the bins, and then anything that's not A grade goes into a sort of a C grade bin, and then that just gets processed with some machine picked fruit that will come in that night. So we really do believe that sorting in the vineyard, you know, makes the wine. So we do everything we can to obviously grow the best fruit we can. But there's always going to be exposed bunches that are out, especially on that western side, that aren't perfect. So we'll just trim those off and yeah. So really trying to make fresh, fruit-driven wines. Trying to be careful with the sunburn, because Florida is a wine that we want to put down and age for a long time. So you know, if we press quite lightly and try to avoid the sunburn. You can actually see we've got a little bit of surround here, which is a clay-based sunscreen that we like to spray on. So that goes on at about 25 kilos a hectare. What we actually do is we do 2 passes. So we go a 12.5 kilo pass one way, 12.5 kilo pass the other way, and we just find in the fruit zone, and we find that penetration is a lot more effective. So yeah, double passes, which is not ideal, but I suppose if you're going to do something, you may as well do it well.
Does that affect your wine stability or settling or floating or whatever you do?
Yeah, we still have to add bentonite. It's not heat stable after we spray it on.
No, I didn't.
But no. Well, to be honest, Riesling's fantastic. We have done it with reds, and I don't like what it does to the reds. Just that time on skins with the Shiraz, I don't like the flavour. But Riesling is fine. Same with this. We try to. Well, this is hand picked, so not getting it off skins really quickly, but it's not sitting around either. So.
Doesn't lift your pH at all? Or?
No, I haven't found it, Brent. No, it's a good question though.
What sort of, you said your times for your irrigation, what sort of litres are the vines getting roughly a week?
Yeah, so it's 1.8 litre drippers a metre. So yeah, it's roughly, what's that, 6 hours, so you know, 10.5 litres a week. And we'd be reasonably high, we'd be probably 0.7, 0.8 megs a hectare. And we can only see that going north as well. That's, you know, with Jeff talking about the water and how important it is. You know, we're a big advocate for that recycled water. So, yeah, we sort of plan to go more and more in the future as well.
So. Is this your normal size? Like your canopy is really big and looks strong and healthy.
Yeah.
In a like warmer year, would you go?
Nah, it would be smaller in a dry year, Steve, for sure. But yeah, like we love the look at this at the moment. And we like with that shoot thinning, and before we were shoot thinning, you'd get like a lot of trash and a lot of canes in here that wouldn't do anything, and they'd die off, and it was just annoying and just another point for disease and stuff. So it's nice to, with that shoot thinning, we find that we've, you know, cleaned a lot of that canopy up, and it's working really well. So, but yeah, again north south, we've got to work pretty hard to get this vineyard up.
What I found fascinating this morning is both you guys have referred to the fact that you pick it at a certain bome, but your alcohol is finishing almost one higher or more than one higher. Are you guys getting the same thing? Are you doing the same thing?
We definitely get alcohol creep, yeah, for sure. We might be 11.8 bome we pick it, and we'd probably that Florida I think sit about 12.5% alcohol. Yeah, okay. I think it's very much yeast. You know, what yeast you use will determine the conversion you get.
I think it's yeast and vintage. Vintage plays a part. It might be how the sugars sit in there. So some vintages tend to have a bit more creep than others, but the riper you pick it, the more you get on top. So Jeff was saying his was about 9% increase. Yeah. We're about 5 to 8.
But yeah, and 12.5 bome might go to 14. So then you get a huge jump from 12.5. So it's just.
then that you're wanting to get? Is that you choose for that?
Oh, not really. No, we don't want too much alcohol in the Rieslings. We still want to make fresh styles of Riesling. So, yeah, you know, if you're getting 13.5%, in my view, that's probably a little bit too high for what we're trying to achieve with our wines and our wine styles. Some people can get away with those 13.5% alcohols, and that's the style they're going for. But for us, we're not chasing that.
What are you putting in? What are you putting in your mid-rows?
We're doing some clovers and medics. So yeah, that's sort of a mix that's worked quite well the last few years, and just go on a annual cycle. So
Do you plant every year, Tom?
are we planting them every year, Derek?
The last 2 years, and then we had a pretty good coverage, so I might see if it goes this year and see if it comes up when you get the volunteer medic filling up. We don't too fussed about the grasses because we'll slash it down and the medics take over in spring anyway. And we do want to try and promote them. There's a little bit over there. Let's see some crept over underneath the mid-row, which is good. We have problems with milk this year, so we still having to try and get on top of that for under vine at this stage. Whether it came in with a straw, I don't know.
I've got to say, you got pretty good colour.
Yeah, look, that's
This is,
good, and we want
yeah.
that. We don't want to have. There used to be always a bit of an issue with cow trough, and obviously everyone's got wireweed, but we've certainly noticed the last 2 years that we should have had problems with cow trough. It hasn't been too bad.
And I didn't actually say, so the whole vineyard's 30 hectares, and this block here is 5 hectares. So we're sort of getting between 30 to 40 tonnes off this vineyard in any given year. So, you know, 6 to 8 tonnes a hectare. So, yeah, not really high yielding, but yeah, good quality and good concentration. But I'm of the same opinion as Steve. I think when the vines are healthy, and you know, some of those great years like 17, I think this might have gone 12 tonnes a hectare, but the vines were happy, the vines were in balance. But yeah, the flavours that we got were amazing, even at 12 tonnes a hectare, just because the vines were happy. So there's a bit different story for the reds.
Well, Riesling can handle it.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
How are your tonnages this year?
For Riesling, they're looking really good. For reds, they're looking pretty good. But we've gone through. We did a lot of shoot thinning, and at the moment we've got a big fruit thinning program as well with our reds, just to knock those back as well. So yeah, especially with Shiraz, we try to avoid bunch on bunch and try to go back to one bunch of cane and that sort of thing. So.
Tom, are you guys using much in the way of foliar fertilisers to supplement nutrient deficiency?
Yeah. So we are. We're using NTM, and we do some humic as well through the irrigation. So we actually put 7 fungicide rounds on this year. What we did a little bit differently, we went with topaz early as well because it was so cold instead of sulphur. But yeah, we put some powdery sprays on, some downy sprays on, and then we put 2 botrytis sprays on as well. And then we put an apple moth spray on as well. You know, we have been affected with apple moth in this vineyard. I think it was 17 or 18, can't remember. So we do get a little bit from here and there. So we're trying to keep on top of that sort of stuff as well.
You guys seen much in the way of scale in your vineyards this year? Like, coming off 3 coolish seasons and high sulphur rate, that's probably something we've noticed this year.
Yep.
A bit more scale pressure.
Yeah. Not that I've seen, to be honest, but
I've seen more scale around this year.
yeah, sure.
We definitely have.
Yeah.
We don't really have not a big problem with scale here, but we do have some vineyards that do have an issue. Yeah, that's certainly not the worst issue with them.
Yep.
I don't think we actually have the diggers.